Welcome to What's the Purpose of It, the podcast where we challenge the current work paradigm and explore how to shift from competition to regeneration, from stress to purpose. Let's rethink work together.
The truth is that AI is replacing a lot of jobs, but the difference is that it doesn't know that it makes mistakes. We humans have ethics, have principles, have moral principles. An AI system simply doesn't understand. Digital transformation is not about technology, it's about people. If you don't train your people, they will not be productive. You need to change their mindset. The main difference between AI and classical application is that in classical applications, they are so-called deterministic. In AI, you have surprises because it's statistic. People started using large language models and generative AI in organizations long before the organization itself started to become aware of the fact that they should use some AI technologies. So people are driving this change. We need these positions like yesterday.
Tudor, thanks so much for joining me today. We're here with Tudor Galoș, an expert on GDPR. We all remember the peekaboo that scared everyone a few years ago. And now we are here to talk about digital transformation, how we introduce AI ethically in the organizations, and how all of this can become a burden for the mental health of the employees. So, Tudor, how open are companies in Romania to digital transformation?
Well, it's a very good question because a company which is very close to me, Valoria, and together with doingbusiness.ro, which is a portal for small businesses, they ran several years in a row a study about the digital transformation, 2018, 17, 18, 19, 20. And the biggest blocker was the lack of knowledge around technology. And this is very funny because digital transformation is not about technology, it's about people. So the first thing that you need to understand that it's not about technology. Digitalization, yes, it's about technology, but digital transformation is not about technology. First of all, it's about people. It's about changing mindset. It's about stopping doing things which are not useful for the organization or for the people, optimizing the internal flows and business flows, and basically optimizing the organization. Technology comes after. First of all, you need to know what you're doing. Actually, it's kind of auditing the company. But in the end, it's not about technology. Technology comes right at the very end of the process.
Wow, this is so enlightening to me. And I have to give you a short story because my next question needs the story as a context. So I was talking to IT school director. So it's an informal school that helps people to learn IT because we know in the past few years, IT was like the golden nugget. And she was telling me that she got a call from a huge banking company in Romania. And HR on the end of the line was like, hey, I need like 80, 100 IT juniors ASAP. And she was like, yeah, I don't keep them in a drawer. Like, we have a program, people sign up, we need to have them teach, and it's a process. And she asked, but why do you need 100 and why all of a sudden? Well, we decided to digitalize an entire department. And she was like, that's great, but what do the employees that do the job now are doing? Oh, no, they're very old. And they're not really good with this. So we plan on giving them some compensation, and we're going to fire them. And we want to hire juniors that are digital. And in that moment, the director of the company was like, error 404. And what she did, she proposed to the company to get all the employees that they have, put them in programs with their teachers, and 80% of the people kept their job and become digital. So I really need to ask an expert on this. How aware are companies of the fact that they need to train this into people? Because we were not born with the skills, and it's something it's teachable within us.
Exactly. I mean, it's a big issue around the fact that companies simply didn't understand what's about this digital transformation, and they expect people to simply know things. Training is mandatory. First of all, it's mandatory by law, also in Romania and in the whole European Union. Second of all, if you don't train your people, I mean, I heard many HR managers saying, "Hey, but what happens if I train them and they leave?" Well, what happens if you don't train them and they stay? I think it's much much worse for the company to have people that are untrained because they will not be productive. So people need to be constantly trained, and I'm not talking about those, I don't know, internal trainings which are online where you just press skip, 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 skip. I mean, everybody who's in corporation did this. I mean, just press skip, skip. If you have two monitors, you run the training on one monitor and YouTube on the other. And basically, you actually need to do real trainings. And I fully recommend in-person trainings where people can actually learn how to use technology, how to use AI, and of course, actually the things that they should do and that they shouldn't do. And it's not actually becoming digital or getting some digital skills. It's about becoming efficient. If you're more efficient with a paper and a pen, then use the paper and the pen. If you're more efficient with an AI-powered Excel together with Copilot from Microsoft, then use it. If you are more efficient with a simple application like TextPad or Notepad, then use it. That's the idea. You choose the right
How I
tools to
roll.
become
This
efficient.
is how I roll. I'm sorry for
Yes,
screaming.
yes.
I have like a remarkable, and it's amazing, but my brain thinks better when I have pen and paper. So on the other hand, in other circumstances, I use ChatGPT, I use AI, I automate a lot of my processes, but there are specific things that I do where pen and paper are in order. So I really like that you put this on the table. It's not about getting us all digitalized. It's about finding the best solution that fits the organization you have and the people working in it. And now we're getting to a new point. We have this trends online, and some say AI is amazing, and some say AI is another peekaboo. So how do we deal with employees that are very reluctant to change? Because basically this is a transformation process, a change management process for regardless what you're trying to implement. It's a change management process for the organization. What do you do with people that are very reluctant to any type of change, especially the digital one?
Well, I wouldn't say people are reluctant. In fact, the surprise was that people started using large language models and generative AI in organizations long before the organization itself started to become aware of the fact that they should use some AI technologies. So people are driving this change. The bad thing is that they are doing in ad hoc scenarios, basically learning by doing. And this creates systemic data breaches because they're exposing sensitive data to these large language models, which often are public. So there it's kind of like going in the open market, you know, with your secret papers and secret data and sharing it to everyone. No, that's not smart. This is why you need a plan. You need actually an AI governance structure inside the organization to determine what AI systems are in your AI catalog, to prioritize them, to establish what are the risks, because there are some major differences between AI and classical applications or IT systems. And AI is very old. AI has the same age as IT. I mean, it started in the 50s. The term AI was coined in 1957 at a conference in Dartmouth. And that's where it actually became a field of study. So artificial intelligence is really, really old. But it exploded, it democratized lately for the simple fact that now the cost of technology is much lower. We have very powerful data centers, part of cloud systems, where they can run AI systems like the large language models because they do consume a lot. And just as a simple fact, the main difference between AI and classical application is that in classical applications, they are so-called deterministic, meaning, for example, in Word, Andra, when you do Control B, you simply take bold on a text. You do Control I, you have the text in italic. Control U, underline. Well, in AI, you have surprises because it's statistic, meaning actually at some point it might give you different results. Like if Word would be an AI-powered, fully AI-powered application, if you would press Control B,
It would put
the
you in
application
italic.
might close, or the document might save, or the document might become green. I mean, it's sometimes it's unexpected. AI is statistically powered. It's That's why it's so close to people. People do make mistakes, so we shouldn't. The biggest change that's coming now to this world is the fact that we need to accept that till now we didn't expect computers to make mistakes. From now on, we must not only accept, we must embrace the fact that these systems might make mistakes. And this is a completely different mindset. We always, we used to say, hey, computers don't do mistakes. But now, from now on, yes, AI systems will do mistakes because it's in their design. So this is not a bug, it's not a fault, it's by design.
It's for sure. But now you're putting me in a very complicated situation because people are very afraid of losing their jobs over to AI. But now you're telling me that AI actually can do mistakes, like computers in general and everything we talk about technologies. So basically, we kind of need people to assist and double check and cross check and make sure everything's okay. So where is the truth? Because I see so much media and clickbait titles in the newspapers, and I'm like, with them, AI is going to take their jobs. And you see all this clickbait, like a company laid off thousands of people because they replaced them with AI. And then when you read the whole news, it's actually not about that. But people don't read the whole news. And they get this idea and they become reluctant to changing their work style.
Well, actually, the truth is that we have no clue what's happening. We are in uncharted waters. I mean, that's the truth. We're in uncharted waters. I mean, it's also a huge difference between automation and AI systems. Automation, it's deterministic. You know a process and you automate it by means of software. So instead of actually, I don't know, going to the printer and print something, you can have something delivered via email. So you automate the process, okay? That's not AI powered. In general, automation is not AI powered. AI means actually outsourcing something to a system, to an AI system, like creation of text, creation of images, determining forecasts, creating the marketing forecasts or spending forecasts or revenue forecasts, simulating different market conditions. This is what, after the first AI winter, which happened in the 70s up to the 80s, in 80s, there was a big change in the American economy. Actually, they had the first fuel crisis, and you know, in US they were caught completely unprepared. You remember seeing at TV huge queues of cars in the 80s, and because they didn't have enough fuel. So what they did in that moment, they said, okay, we need some models to actually be able to predict what happens to the economy if something changes in the world. For example, the price of fuel, or if there is a war somewhere, or by the way, if there is a bubble, if there is if there are certain economic KPIs which are changing. So this is when AI restarted growing, because the first major applications for AI were economic forecasts. So US is very much based on economic forecasts. Well, if they would listen to these economic forecasts, things would be much better. And by the way, the crisis, I'm pretty sure the subprime crisis in 2007, 2008 might have been avoided because everybody saw what's happening there, but nobody acted. Everybody hoped, you know, the bubble to keep much, much longer. Anyway, coming back to this, AI, the truth is that AI is replacing a lot of jobs. It's not right because we are always saying, an AI system does make mistakes, but the difference is that it doesn't know that it makes mistakes. The humans, we humans have ethics, have principles, have moral principles. An AI system simply doesn't understand. You cannot model ethics in mathematics or in statistics. You simply cannot do it. It's something that cannot be done.
That's great news to me.
Yes, this is why you need humans in place to create processes to be able to check outputs for errors, for biases, for discrimination, or for bad effects to people. Because at some point, something really bad will happen. And at some point also, what we need to expect is that AI will kill people. At some point, this will happen. This is also modeled in the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act, where they're saying that in case of a major incident, including leading up to the death of people, you need to report this incident to the authorities. So yes, the law accepts that in certain situations, we might face the fact that people might get killed. So we need to establish accountability. But in the case of an AI system, if people are working, for example, with an AI system that is making a mistake, let's say, or it's making a hallucination, you need to have in place processes to not only determine the fact that it hallucinated, but also to escalate it really quickly to fix it. Because AI works much faster than a person. So if a person does a mistake, I mean, you can talk to that person, hey, you made a mistake, we need to fix this. It's simple. But if the AI makes a mistake, I mean, it might have the effect, might propagate much, much faster, and the damage might be exponentially higher. This is why you need to have in place clear processes and procedures what to do in case you determine and you identify an incident. And by the way, this is something also that organization didn't factor in when they started adopting AIs, let's say, the fact that budgeting is completely different than budgeting an IT solution, because you actually need to have people in place to check the results from time to time. You need to have processes, procedures, you need to have rehearsals, what happens in case of an incident, because you're on a timeline. In less than 24 hours or even faster, you need to fix things. Otherwise, the error propagates really, 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 really fast.
Wow, I love this perspective. And what I love most about it is that it debunks the myth that, hey, you can now have an employee with 20 euros a month if you pay for ChatGPT. Well, it doesn't seem it's that cheap anymore. But I was also thinking of another thing I've heard lately from people, that companies are not in Romania necessarily, but we have a lot of students in the HR school, Romanians that work for companies abroad. So I'm hearing of things that in Romania seem absolutely futuristic, like they are implementing AI models to oversee the work of the employee. And I also understand it from a perspective, because I think we do want to have productive people. We do want to make sure nobody is cutting the line. Well, we're paying for them, but at the other time, I feel like we're treating people like they're children, not adults that come to work to do their job. I feel like we're going back a little bit in the ages when somebody was like checking our work on the plantation. So I see the plus, I see the minus, but what I see a lot is a lot of mental health challenges for employees being watched all the time. I mean, my nervous system would probably be like, what if I'm doing something? What if I went into the bathroom break for too long? Is it going to report me? What do we do about that? I haven't heard about it in Romania. Maybe you know something. But what I've learned is that if something's abroad, Romania will probably copy in about 5 years.
Well, the good thing is that everything that you mentioned is fully legal. Under GDPR, under the human rights, you're not allowed to monitor the private life of a person. A person has the right to private life, even if that person is at work. Of course, you're counterbalanced by the fact that other rights, like the right of the organization to protect its secrets, the right of the organization to require some productivity from its employees, but they cannot trample into your private life, meaning actually, you know, measuring your bathroom time or your lunch time and things like this. Moreover, if you put an AI system, you are regulated. You're not only regulated by the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act, which clearly says the fact that if you use AI in HR systems that has effects on people, and on their performance, it's considered to be a high-risk AI system, and you need to make a fundamental rights impact assessment, which is a quite thorough document, because you actually need to analyze all the human rights that are affected by the algorithm. But at the same time, you have GDPR. GDPR is a very strong legislation because it's a legislation which is coming directly from the European Charter of Human Rights, which is especially focused on the right to privacy, but it also protects other rights like the freedom of expression. It protects the press, by the way. It protects, it's also about freedom to practice your religion and things like this. And why did I mention this? Because the fundamental rights of humans, so European Charter of Human Rights, is enshrined in the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union. So the human rights are right at the base and the foundation of the European Union. This is why I love actually this construction of the European Union. It's so great because it puts people first. Okay, it's actually a union which puts people first. And these things were mandated to pass through the constitution of every country which is a member of the European Union, including Romania. So what happens is that in GDPR, which again is a law which is very powerful because it's coming directly from the protection of human rights, and it gives the context to actually what you can and what you cannot do. There is an article called Article 22, which says that you must not use automated systems that take automated decisions without human influence on related to people that can produce legal effects or similar effects, negative effects to people, like using AI systems, to evaluate people. Of course, there are some exceptions, but you always need to take into consideration what can go wrong. In this case, if you are using an AI system for people, mental health is a huge issue. And I'm glad that you mentioned it because we've seen this in the United States at Amazon, for example, and IBM and other big companies which simply failed due to this. I mean, they failed in protecting their employees against discrimination, against other factors. Also in HR systems, basically a famous FMCG company actually used an AI system to detect candidates which are lying in online interviews. Especially this was heavily used during the pandemic and the lockouts because they couldn't do live interviews. So they used it for filtering candidates that are lying. But the question is, and by the way, I made a data protection impact assessment on this system, just for fun, to identify 3 major risks. So first of all, let's say, you have a problem, a medical problem. What happens if your muscles, if your facial muscles don't move? You might have a temporary paralysis, you might have a condition, but you know about it, and you can, yes, and you can request, let's say, for example, a human intervention in the process and to stop the system because it's not correctly calibrated on your medical condition. But what happens if you're tired and you simply don't know this? You are tired, maybe you're a young mother who spent the whole night with her child and you're completely exhausted. At that moment, the facial muscles move completely different and you can't control them. And the system says, hey, you're lying. Or if you're from a minority or from another, for example, from another country, which has different, ways of expressing emotions. Just look at our neighbors, the Bulgarians. I mean, they have completely, for them, this is no and this is yes. And what will the system understand is not calibrated to do this. So this is the role of an ethical officer, or I would say, or of an AI governance officer, or for a data protection officer like ourselves, to identify these issues before the system is deployed. Otherwise, it will start doing harm to people.
And harm to company budgets because lawsuits are quite expensive and we do not recommend anyone to get there. But, we have at the HR school, we every year we look around at what roles are going to emerge in the HR industry. And I actually made a list with some of them that we are talking about. And I'm curious if you think that Romania should be getting ready for this kind of HR positions, or we still have like 10, 20 years to wait. So it would be like human machine teaming manager, algorithm bias auditor, VR immersion counselor. Like we already have in our program HR people that represent companies that actually send those big glasses to employees when they get signed up, and they get like VR onboarding from their own house, but they feel like they're at the office, and it's like crazy, right? In Romania, do we have to get ready for these roles? I mean, are we there?
I think we are already late. Not only Romania, around the world. So not only we need to define those roles, I think it's time for the HR organization to find the right people already in the organization that might fill up these positions, even temporary, as champs, let's say, or as an additional work. Because we need also to gain experience, what goes right, what goes wrong, what should be the KPIs, what are the performance reviews for these people, I mean, the performance factors. So we need these positions like yesterday, because it's already happening. I see many organizations saying, hey, we don't have an AI strategy because we don't use AI. And then I'm asking the employees, which ones are using ChatGPT or Midjourney? Everybody. And there is a shock. What do you mean you're using? You have your own accounts? Yes. And yes, many of them are uploading their super secretive internal emails or memos, and they're uploading everything to this public area. And simply organizations have no clue, but people are already using it. So okay, you need a strategy here. Once you need a strategy, you need also specific roles, like chief ethical officer, machine learning algorithm reviewer, because you need to check what happens. Even if it's not your algorithm and you're simply purchasing it and using it, if you're making modifications or updates or retraining the algorithm, you are becoming not only a deployer, you're also becoming back a producer, because you're modifying the algorithm. And it might have different effects than the ones that were designed to have. I mean, you are repurposing actually the algorithm. So this is why you need people with specific skills to review how these algorithms are working. Otherwise, it will be a full mess. It already is. I mean, it's happening. You see changes, you see a lot of incidents, you see discrimination on a large scale, you see the effects already. So we need to be able to address these issues.
Yeah, I was actually thinking while you were talking, I feel like we're in two different Romania here. Like the Romania we're talking about, the one that's digitalized, the one that I feel like that's just in Pipera in Bucharest. And I'm thinking of all the small business, like medium businesses all over the country in small cities with owners that are like just self-made, you know, and they just gather a bunch of people and they made a business and they're with pen and paper and everything. And I feel like there's such a big difference between the companies we're talking about and the small companies where they don't even have this idea of being digital, you know. So the gap, I feel it like it's very huge. But let's say I'm a manager and I have a team of like 10, 20 people, and we do not have an AI strategy in our organization. How should I address things to my team? Like, how do I know if they're, because people are going to hide, right? Why would I tell my manager that I'm using ChatGPT to write a prompt or something for like my emails to the customers or wherever? And I'm not doing my 8 hours of work, because we also have this, like, we need to work for 8 hours. We need to be productive in all of them. So people, if they're going to be optimizing their work, they most likely are going to hide it if this is not a strategy in the organization. So how should a manager deal with this? Because I'm thinking a lot of managers are listening to
Well, they need to embrace change. I mean, the good thing is that together with the great team from doing business.ro, we are making a roadshow across the country in cities like Oradea, Satu Mare, Bacău, Suceava. I mean, cities which are where people, I mean, organizations usually don't go, big organizations. So it's like Terra Nuda for us. I mean, we can see actually the real business life over there. And yes, I agree with you. They have no clue what is happening in the digital area. They are forced to digitally transform, especially due to the fact that, for example, in Romania, e-factura was introduced. So you cannot use any more handwritten invoices. You had to have digital invoices. That's a major change, and it was a major change for organizations, and they adapted to it. And now they're using it. Everybody's using it because you have to. And now new requirements are happening. You need to give even B2C invoices. You need to upload them into the e-factura system. So things changed a lot in the past years. But what's happening is that people are transforming much faster than organizations. One of the things which is very scary is the use of WhatsApp in the organizations, because that's WhatsApp is an environment which is fully controlled by Meta. the owner of Facebook. And Meta has a really bad record with privacy and data protection. Moreover, they said they don't want to create a business offering for WhatsApp, meaning actually where you as an organization can have a control over the conversations and identify issues and because every business B2B conversation, in fact, it's like an official email. So it has it's actually a valuable document in the court of law. While if you're using a consumer-based system like WhatsApp, you cannot use it, or you can use it in certain conditions. But the idea is that if you are uploading personal data or sensitive data into WhatsApp, it's considered to be a data breach. And we've seen a lot of legal decisions across Europe, including in Romania. We tracked at least 11 GDPR fines for the use of WhatsApp in the organization. But people are using it for the simple reason that managers didn't understand that email is already an archaic system. It's considered to be old. Fun fact is that I had a discussion with a girl who works in HR in one of our customers, and she said, "Wait a minute. I mean, this candidate wanted to talk on the phone like old people do." I mean, what do you mean like old people do? Yeah, I mean, in their 20s, they don't talk on the phone anymore. They're using either Zoom or Teams or Google Meet or messaging, instant messaging, and it's very powerful. And organization didn't understand this till it was too late. So, for example, if you have Microsoft Teams or Google Chats as B2B systems in your organization, you can use them. But that functionality came a little bit too late after WhatsApp became mainstream. Now it's very hard to reduce the use of WhatsApp to what it was intended to be used, for memes, for jokes, for gossip. Hey, don't forget to bring the milk at home. It's not for business. It's not like sending documents, sending ID cards over WhatsApp and so on. So you need to protect this data, and this is really, really, really important. And I've seen a lot of mistakes in this area. I've seen a lot of fines. And again, managers were caught in this process way too late, and they didn't understand what they should do. And now we are doing mostly damage control, trying, to get them back to compliance.
So I think there's a lot of things that are going to surprise us in the following years. And we've talked a lot about GDPR. We talked about the AI Act. We talked about the mental health issues concerned in the digital transformation. But I want to talk a bit about security. You mentioned it briefly in the beginning of our talk. And I was talking to a former candidate of mine, and we were like, just how's work? How's life? And he was like, "Oh, I had such a hard month," because he's working in the cybersecurity, something, whatever. I'm not very tech savvy. So what he was telling me that one of his clients, which is a huge company in Romania, had a big data breach because one of the employees found a USB flash in the parking lot. And he took it to the office thinking that it's probably from one of the colleagues, inserted in the computer to see what's in it, so he knows who to give it to. And just a few minutes later, the entire production system shut down. Hackers were online asking for millions of euros to unlock everything. How do we get here? Like, how is that even possible? Why aren't I think we passed that period when we know not to open the emails with the fun pictures anymore.
No, we're still there.
We're still there. I know not to open emails with fun pictures.
No, we are still there.
Oh, wow.
It's sadly also security and personal security and data security is not being taught in the organizations. It's like minimum education, it's like the minimum technical education that you need to receive in the organization. And not only in the organization, I mean, at school as well. I mean, students and pupils should be taught on how to use technology and what are the risks, because they're exposing themselves. Part of our efforts, we've seen a lot of data breaches, of course, some of them coming from real stupid reasons, like the one that you said it's something that happens a lot, or opening an email. But we are seeing very, very complex attacks. Complex attacks meaning a combination of social engineering with actual spyware installations and phishing. And social engineering is very, very dangerous. For example, just think about all the organizations that are working in office spaces, you know, and they're going to lunch. And they say, hey, let's not go to the cafeteria, let's go out. And they forget the fact that in a restaurant, you're not in a meeting room. You're at a restaurant in a public space. And they're talking everything about the business. And actually, I had a friend of mine who led a team which did ethical hacking. So penetration test team, a pen test team. And they hacked into a bank. They were supposed to hack into the bank. I mean, they were
We're
paid to do
hired
this.
for this.
For the simple fact that they simply listened to what the employees were talking. They knew who was being hired and when it was being hired. So they sent a girl who had the fake badge, which was not working. And she said, hey, yes, I'm in the team of Mr. X. I just received the job. Today is my first day. I need to go to this manager, to this. I mean, she said all the names, the right names. And the doorman let her pass, and she passed through every security door up to the chamber of the data center, where she took a selfie. And basically, social engineering is very, very dangerous. And the fun fact it was that I was in a cool cafe in a mall where a lot of corporate people are coming, you know, to eat at the food court. And I was hearing right at the next table, you know, two people from a bank saying that, oh my God, if the hackers would realize how faulty is the backend system, the core banking system of this bank, because it has this vulnerability, this ports are open. I mean, I could have done it right there, you know, and people don't realize, I mean, they think that if you are in a cafeteria or at the office, you are safe. Or for example, if you go, you know, to a cool cafe place, you know, like Starbucks, you prefer to work from the window because it's such a nice view. Of course, but everybody might come, we know, you with a phone with 100x zoom and actually see into your monitor. I mean, there's some basic things that it's up to you to don't do these mistakes. But you need to be trained. So that's a huge issue. People don't realize how bad things can get.
Yeah, I think that most of us grew up without that much technology. So we were like trained with basic life skills.
Yeah.
Watch when you cross the street, but nobody told you don't keep your laptop in the window. Somebody might take pictures of your login details. So yeah, I love this perspective of training people on this kind of things. It's sensitive stuff. And I honestly think people can screw up big time with the best intention, like this employee had. Like they just found a USB and wanted to, like, what a good human being, right? You give something back to the people that lost.
Yeah.
And this social engineering sounds so dangerous exactly because they are hacking into our human experience. Like, you're going to be a nice person, you're going to give that back to somebody. So
exactly.
we are in. We don't even have to send an email with a bunny that you have to press play on. I loved our talk. Thank you so much for all the insights. Just in the end, very short, what can companies do to help people have a good mental health during digital transformations?
Well, first of all, is work with specialists. I mean, work with consultants. The role of an AI governance consultant, like we are, I know this is my commercial time. It's like you need to simply understand the fact that part of this experience, you need to take into consideration all the changes that the organization will go through. And the first things that will change are the people. You need to change their mindset. This is part of the digital transformation effort. So you need to talk with them. You need to do change management, small changes over time. Don't do big changes because people will naturally resist to them and they will become haters for a good reason. And you need to actually work with them, listen to them, take feedback. One of the things which are also required in the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act is to take feedback.
From humans.
Take feedback from the employees, from the people that are subject to the processing by AI, because only then you will understand their fears, you will understand their concerns, so you could be able to address them. it's a huge issue these days, especially with so many things happening around us. I mean, wars, economic conditions, politics, and people have a lot of anxiety. So this needs to be addressed. And you need, when you're planning to do such changes, you need to take into consideration the fact that you need to be there for your employees. And I think the role of HR here is very important. Because, for example, we as data protection consultants and as the next step that we are taking as artificial intelligence governance experts, we are deeply working with HR because HR is driving the culture inside the organization. If you want to do a change in the culture, such as taking security more seriously, taking data protection more seriously, taking artificial intelligence seriously and understanding it, you need to go through the HR because the HR establishes the culture. Otherwise, if you're going through IT or sales or marketing, at some point you'll block, okay? You'll have a blocker. This is why the best partners for us are the HR departments.
I'm happy to hear. So I can 100% say that being in contact with so many HR people for the past few years in our program, I see this area of expertise developing more and more. And I see HR people becoming, they're far beyond business partners. They became change agents in the organizations. And now with the mental health first aid responders classes that we're having in organizations, we see that it's not only about hard skills anymore. Companies are more and more relying on soft skills. They want to see that the mental health is okay because they finally understood it's related to the physical health and productivity and innovation. So, okay, let's be a little bit more optimistic today after all the hacking and security breaches. Thank you so much for everything. We're going to drop in the description all the links so people can get in contact with you and get more information about everything we just talked today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining What's the Purpose of It? Until the next time, keep challenging the rules, rethinking the norm, and building workplaces where purpose leads the way. See you soon.